There, 2 second gap done. Yes, guys, what are you saying? Welcome back to Carefree Lewis G. Sorry if we had to pause for a couple seconds. Literally every time we re-record this and it comes up live, the first 2 or 3 seconds are cut anyway. So you might as well save you guys the bother of it looking weird. As usual, I got Craigo with me. Bro, how you been feeling? How's your weekend been?
It's okay. Miami Dolphins lost last night. That was a bummer. But other than that, Chelsea 3 points. It was fine. And Arsenal lost drop points as well.
We can take that.
Exactly. Not too bad.
Rival teams are also kind of falling in the mud around us. Liverpool look like they're going to be a mess. Spurs, I can't lie, they're scaring me a little bit. I don't want to say it too much, especially with us having them next, but they're scaring me a little bit.
Yeah, but they are going to scare teams. They are a decent side, and Jose's got them. You know, Jose's no mug of a manager, but the difference is between being a mug of a manager and actually being able to go and do something potentially in a title race is who you also play and what points you play them at. They've got a hell of a tough fixture list coming up next couple of weeks, plus throw in Europe. Yeah, there'll be a decent side till the end, but don't worry just yet.
I'll be real. That December period is going to make or break whoever's going to be in that title race coming out of it.
Completely.
We talk about how cramped the Christmas list is anyway. Mm-hmm. With the way this season's been, you're having games literally every 2 or 3 days. And even in the case of Tottenham, because they've even got that Carabao Cup fixture as well.
Oh, yeah, the one against Stoke.
Oh, yeah, we forgot it was Stoke, wasn't it? Yeah, I guess that's going to be under 18s being flopped out as well. And we're going to talk about that for the Rennes.
I would piss myself if they lost that.
If there's one game, it depends on how seriously they take it. Because I've always said when it comes to Mourinho and Spurs, there's going to be a period where they have to decide, cool, do we want the smaller trophies or do we want to actually push for the Premier League because we think it's hard? He's going to have to make that decision. I think that's going to have to be soon.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right, we're going to start with the talks about fans returning back to football, and then we're going to delve more into Rennes versus Chelsea game just to wrap things up. But if you guys haven't already heard, which I think, unless you live underneath a rock, you already do know, football fans are set to finally be allowed to return to grounds when the lockdown ends on December the 2nd, which I think is that's meant to be the basic end, but there's still going to be a bunch of different rules in place when we come back. Boris Johnson's announced that in Parliament, but there still hasn't been much confirmed. I know MPs still have to make a vote on the new rules and regulations at the end of the week. But the idea is that small amounts of fans will be allowed in grounds based on the tier lists and based on the restrictions in those cities at the time. Lockdown locations with tier 1 restrictions should be allowed up to 4K fans or either 50% capacity, whichever one's lower for them. Tier 2 restrictions is half of that. It's 2,000 fans or 50% capacity again, whichever one's lower. Still confused me as well because if you got 50% capacity or a smaller club, it don't really make any difference whether you're in tier 1 or tier 2. We can delve into that a little bit later. Tier 3 restrictions as well basically just means we're back to being behind closed doors and there isn't going to be any fans. I think London's in tier 3 right now, but we're looking like we could drop out to tier 2 by the time we come out of lockdown. That's what I've heard, but that face is saying a lot differently. Let me know what you're thinking.
I don't think there's any hope that we're going to be in tier 2 personally. I think we're tier 3. I put a tweet out just half hour ago or so. I think this is going to be a little bit of a bad news kind of thing, especially for the London teams. A lot of people are probably going to argue about getting fans back in and whatever. A team that I know quite well, Shrewsbury Town, they've got a massive car park that you could drive to and you can go to the ground that way. That's the kind of ground that's going to be able to get a lot more fans in and kind of have a little bit more freedom with it. The likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, so many more as well. I think they're going to struggle to get fans in purely for the reasons you have to get transport there. So I think England is going to be very much divided, but I think that a lot of teams that are based in big cities, which unfortunately at the moment is a lot of the Premier League teams, are all going to kind of feel the wrath of tier 1, I would guess. Tier 3.
I mean, that was the first question I was going to ask you about. It doesn't really make sense us going straight out of a lockdown, literally straight out of one, into now trying to get fans into grounds together. And I understand if you're going to do it because you're going to try and justify it by saying, okay, look, we're having closed we're having closed venues with 50% people in for concerts and stuff like that, but we can't have an open venue for about 4,000 fans. But the same way, we're in a different period to where we were a couple months ago. And I was looking at the charts for the last few weeks. I'm really trying hard not to say the C word because I don't know if I get demonetized or not anymore. But even that case, the new cases have gone down, but like it's gone down from 30,000 to 20,000 or something like that. It's still not looking good. The death rate as well, it is going down, but are you going to call it good progress? I'm not really going to call it that. And it's just a case of this is all being rushed. This is all being massively rushed.
Yeah, I'm. When I saw it, it shocked me. You know, that's the bottom line. Yeah, it shocked me that they're even thinking about getting fans back in. Certain regions are definitely more set than others. Plymouth Argyle, a friend of mine that works for them. I mean, down in Devon and that neck of the woods, Cornwall, that kind of the West Country, pretty much. I mean, they've got bugger all cases. Regions. Yeah, they've got bugger all cases. So there's no reason why they couldn't have maybe some fans back in. But where you've got a problem is when you've got big teams. You've got big teams that have got fan bases all over the country. Now, for example, a load of my friends live in Hemel Hempstead and family as well. They're all Chelsea season ticket holders. If they were to come to the Bridge, are they going to somewhere that is in tier 2 to then go into somewhere that is in tier 3, watch a game of football and come back out again? You know, there's so many different complications around it. And when I saw it, I thought, they ain't thought this through yet. And I see there's a lot of people going, oh my God, Chelsea Leeds could be the first fixture back with fans. I mean, that's in 2 weeks? You know, that ain't going to happen. But, you know, it's not going to happen.
December 2nd, how long is that?
I think it is 2 weeks. I don't know what date we're on.
That's next Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. And I think the Leeds game is meant to be the Saturday. So next Saturday, apparently we're going to have fans back at Chelsea. Do you think that sounds reasonable? I don't.
No. I was saying this whole season should be a write-off.
Mm-hmm. I think realistically, you've got to look at getting fans back into the stadium somehow, of course. And I've been a kind of an advocate for quite a while of teams that are lesser supported, shall we say, teams that are in League 2, League 1, even some Championship sides. They should be the ones that you are used as like these test events. Can you actually get people in there? Wycombe Wanderers, classic example, massive car park going right the way up the hill. They're a Championship side now. Maybe use them as a dummy run. I don't know how many Adams Park holds. I think it's like 10,000 people. Use that as a dummy run. Adams Park, Wycombe Wanderers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's about 10,000 capacity, something like that. Use that as a dummy run, see how it works, and then potentially go to, I don't know, maybe next one up you could do Brentford. I don't know what their new stadium is. Let's say 20-odd thousand. You know, maybe that's the next step. Where I think a lot of people are instantly going, oh, well, let's get the biggest grounds and let's get the few amount of people in, and it'll be absolutely fine. Where, I mean, we go to Chelsea, unless you go to West Brompton and walk, or you go to Fulham Broadway, there's pretty much bugger all else ways to get there unless you get on the bus, and they all get blocked off on match days anyway.
If we're thinking about just routes out of Stamford Bridge, you got Fulham Broadway Station, you got like a couple buses, you got a long off walk to either Else Court, West Brompton. If you really want to stretch, you could go to Imperial Wharf, or you could even go to Parsons Green, maybe a Boris Spike. But same way, like you're thinking again, like 4,000, 5,000 fans in and out of grounds. They're talking about staggered entrances, staggered exits. I remember even hearing like we weren't going to even think about this until a vaccine was out, because then that was going to be one of the things, like you couldn't go into grounds unless you had a vaccine or not. Now we haven't even got like a tablet that we could take or anything like that. We're trying to get fans in now. Yeah,
I think one of the main things I saw, and I think maybe a few people have missed, it came out last week, and it's something that I am all supporting of, is that England wants to back a solo country hosted Euros, because the Euros in the summer is going to be absolutely, pardon my language here, Lewis, fucked. It's going to be so fucked, it's ridiculous. If you can have it all in one country, then the argument is, well, actually, it's a lot safer, it makes a lot more sense, and it's going to be a lot more controlled as well. I think one of the big things behind it is that they want to have fans in the stadiums. Certain countries are going to be allowed to do it before others are. You look at France, maybe as an example. They've had fans back for a while. Actually, in hindsight, completely the wrong thing to do. They're now back in lockdown again. We
That's
haven't
just going to
had,
be us.
yeah. Well, we haven't had that yet. Maybe we've done enough to be able to kind of see it off a little bit. But I think basically the FA want to prove to UEFA and go, look, we could actually do it right now. I know someone who's involved in the original 2018 World Cup bid for England, and she spent a hell of a lot of time going around different hotels and locations, looking out for squad accommodation, looking out for this, looking out for the other, and how many venues we would have to genuinely be able to host a World Cup right now. Or even a Euros right now. And I think that's something that England wants to kind of be portrayed as is, look, we could do it tomorrow, which we could. You know, we'd have 40 hotels that all have got big spaces that you could go and use as training grounds and whatever. You've got these huge spaces that we could use and it would be available in a heartbeat. But if you want to get fans back into stadiums, which is obviously the first part of maybe hosting this massive Euros tournament in the UK, or in England specifically, then you have to start getting people back into the stands. You have to get people into the grounds. I don't think England are going to be successful in getting a solo hosted Euros, but the FA want to try, and I think the government want to try because they know how much money that's going to bring in.
So this is kind of just like a little flex to say, look what we can do. If we can control ourselves, even coming straight out of a lockdown to get fans in, we can also host an entire Euros.
If this works from now, and I'll be honest with you, I have a weird feeling that it might. If we do it the right way, then everyone's going to look at us and go, well,
what would you call the right way then? Because I'm not going to lie, look at this. This is a disaster waiting to happen. I've got the complete opposite idea for this.
Every single person, and it's for obvious reasons, all the clubs, including us, we're talking about it, fans of a big team. They need to do it in the right way, which is to start from the bottom up, which is what they've been trying to do the other way round in France. I remember PSG had a friendly game in like Le Havre or somewhere like that before the Champions League tournament. They had it, they had 7,000 people there. And they were like, oh, look what we're doing. This is fantastic. If we can reverse it around and go, look, we're getting people back into non-league grounds, maybe League One, League Two, something like that. The odd championship ground. Sick. That's awesome. Tick. Then all of a sudden you go, right, can we look at maybe getting a bigger championship ground in? Where's a big championship ground?
Who's got I was about to say Bournemouth. Oh my gosh.
Nottingham Forest, someone along those lines.
Yeah, Birmingham maybe.
Yeah, old school Leeds or something like that. Obviously, they're not in there anymore, but someone that kind of caliber. Can we get fans back in there? Can we do that on a consistent basis? Then you're starting to look at potentially getting those bigger stadiums. You're then looking at your probably places that could host a tournament would probably be the Emirates, Old Trafford, Anfield, if they ever allowed the sun back in, St James's Park, Brighton. Looking at these places, of course, Wembley as well. If they can all get fans back into the grounds, then you've got a real chance of being able to put your foot down and go, we could host this, we really could host it. I don't think that we're going to be successful, but to do it the right way has to be to go from bottom up. And that's what I think they're trying to do.
Because there's a lot of small stadiums and go further up from that.
And that's what I think might be a little bit more of a success, because there is very few ginormous stadiums elsewhere in England that are not in big towns / cities. There's a lot of decent sized stadiums that are a little bit more out the way in countryside areas like Plymouth Argyle, like even Norwich. That's not a bad one. Still a big town, but kind of kept themselves out the way. If they can start to get these kind of 10,000 capacity stadiums to 20,000 capacity stadiums to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60, then you're now looking at something that could really be a bid for England to host the Euros.
Okay, so I get that, but that also takes us back to a good question from Max, where he said earlier, and he was talking about potential unfair advantage. And I'll be real, sporting integrity over the last year has been completely muddied ever since this entire virus. So to an extent, it's already finished. But same way, if you bring fans in grounds, depending on the size and smallest club going first, that does create an unfair advantage, because you will have teams like, again, Max is saying that teams from London won't have any fans to begin with, neither will Manchester. Maybe Birmingham, you could push for a Wolves. I don't think
Liverpool definitely won't. Liverpool definitely won't.
Yeah, Liverpool won't have fans. Everton might. Crystal Palace might. But it creates an unfair advantage with those sorts of teams. And do you think that could have some sort of serious effect on the season? Like, I'll give Bournemouth as an example. If they were still in the Premier League, they'd probably be the first one to have fans back. Would that give them an unfair advantage going into remaining games this season?
I don't think so. No, honestly, only for the reason. I mean, for the last, let's pretty much call it for the last 6 months. You know, for the last 6 months, there's been no fans anywhere near football, and no one's really batted an eyelid. But no one really said, well, actually, that team's losing their home advantage because a big side's coming to them and they'd make loads of noise. Chelsea would probably got a little bit of advantage because when we played at Newcastle, Newcastle's home support is absolutely brilliant. They'd have been right behind their team and maybe they could have gone and got a result. No one's batting an eyelid about that. So why would you bat an eyelid about it going the other way? Are these rural teams going to be able to, maybe come up with the goods and whatever? Maybe, yeah, fine. But realistically, it should just be about what's on the team. You're only there to do your job and enjoy the entertainment that's going on and maybe support where you can. It should be a case of
the 12-man doesn't have an effect anymore then.
What, for fans in general?
Yeah.
No, fans will still have an effect, of course. But realistically, we're not talking about full capacity stadiums with a few people supporting the away team. It's only going to be home fans, and we're talking about 4,000. I think this came out and said today potentially
4,000 max. But again, with smaller grounds, 50% capacity.
But again, that's in places that are in tier 1. How many places are going to be in tier 1? All your big towns, your big towns, are going to be in tier 2 or above.
Yeah, okay, so they'll be even further down.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the things that could go in your favour, I'm thinking off the top of my head, probably Brighton would be a good example. Maybe they're a bit more of a rural area. Maybe they are allowed to have 4,000 fans back. Okay, yeah, fine. But there was how many fans in Krasnodar when we played over there? Was it Krasnodar we played? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was Krasnodar. Yeah. I'm trying to think the amount, but there were fans.
Let's say it was 10,000 fans or whatever it was, because it was probably I think it was double digits. It's probably around that neck of the woods somewhere. Didn't bother Chelsea, did it?
No. Yeah.
It's just going into a game. It's going into a ground and having a tough atmosphere. Okay, cool. It shouldn't be a home.
Teams just need to get through.
It shouldn't be a barrier. The game should be based on what goes on the pitch. Maybe you get a little bit more of momentum from coming from a whole cop end shouting and whatever. But I mean, realistically, are Brighton known for their electric atmosphere? No. Are Norwich known for their electric atmosphere? No.
A bit more of a debate.
Yeah, the only reason you say that is because they have goal music. That's pretty much about it. Because I to be fair,
very early into their coming back to the Premier League, so maybe we'll give a disclaimer too.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very good away day, actually. That was a very good away day. But I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem getting fans back in and having an unfair advantage to teams that are based in rural areas. I think Chelsea did really
not Brighton.
Oh, okay. Christ.
Maybe
Southampton then. Southampton then. We'll go Southampton.
Throw Burnley in there too, because I doubt they even have.
Yeah, that'd be another good one as well. I don't know what the situation is like up there, but there's going to be big games. There's going to be big rivalries and whatever. Yeah, fine. But that Krasnodar game meant the absolute world to them, opening up their new stadium and whatever. And Chelsea dealt with it. All good teams should be able to. And the good teams are the ones that are going to suffer. Maybe it just makes the playing field a little bit more level.
Yeah, it's only one real factor. I feel like you've turned me on that. There's one more point. I just want to go through a couple of questions quick. Is away fans allowed? Bro, we're trying to even worry about home fans. Away fans is a myth for the next year at least. I big up Jason in the chat. You're already trying to drop your Werner slander. By the way, Arsenal have more foul throw-ins than goals this season. It's peak. Also, by the way, Werner and Abraham have more goals combined than Arsenal have this season. It's double peak. But thanks for jumping on anyway, bro. Massively appreciate it. What else? There's another tested thing I wanted to talk about. Half the reason why this is being pushed is because of the money that clubs can make with fans coming in through the gates and everything. But realistically, with the amount of money that needs to be spent on stewards, with extra policing, and the staff, with also the added idea that there's only going to be a max of 4K fans coming in at the most, is this even worth it? If we're being really real about it, because also if we talk about social distancing, how the hell are you enforcing social distancing inside the grounds? Like you're saying, our first game could potentially be Chelsea v Leeds. Chelsea fans haven't been in grounds for how long? 7, 8 months.
And the rest. Yeah.
And we're facing Chelsea versus Leeds at home for the first time in I think over a decade. This is a massive rivalry. And do you think if we score a goal, people ain't just going to start jumping on top of each other again?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, Sunday League football as well, and non-league football that I'm involved with a bit as well. You know, it's football. There's emotion. You've got to be able to enjoy the game. And I remember in the Bundesliga, the first game back, I was watching it was Dortmund Schalke, I think it was, and they said, "Oh, they're going to have a camera that's going to have a red light on it, and all the players can run towards that camera to celebrate and keep it socially distanced." That don't happen. You've just scored a belter. You're not going to go, well done.
Where's the camera, guys? Where's the camera?
Yeah, well, we're going to that one. You're just going to go nuts. You're going to celebrate. You're going to enjoy it. I just think it's absolutely stupid to say that you can't have certain rules, you can't have certain regulations and whatever. The way it's done in America, I love to go across over to the US and whatever. In American football, the Dolphins, my team, have got fans back in the stadiums for where they are. They're allowed 6 people. They're allowed little blocks of 6 people. So you go as a family rather than you go and you all buy individual tickets. You go as a family. So you go as a family. You go in your little section of 4 or 5, 6, whatever it is, and you celebrate with the people in your little section, in your little zone. So if for me, obviously, I go to football with my dad. If Chelsea manage to score an absolute worldie and beat Spurs at the weekend, and I jump all over him, that's fine because he's in my house. Do you know what I mean? But I'm with you on the whole. If I'm not next to me dad and there's a random stranger next to me, I mean, on a normal day of football, I'm jumping all over him as well because, I mean, that's what you do. That's football. That's football for you. I think at grassroots level, I think at non-league level as well, and even obviously in the lower leagues, there's a real problem that they've got for being able to kind of control what players can and can't do. You can't say to people who are just ordinary members of society, "Oh yeah, you can do that, but actually you're not allowed to go and do the fun part." You can go and put a foot in. Rugby's a good one as well. You can go and scrum. You can all stand next to each other and all that crap. But all of a sudden, oh no, you can't celebrate together. It's a joke. Who was it? Was it Red Bull Salzburg had the circles laid out when they had their trophy presentation?
I think that was in general for all the trophy. Liverpool were meant to have the same thing, but like they didn't stick to it for long.
Exactly. That's the thing. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. You have to be real about it as well. I'll be honest with you. I think that football maybe should have stopped and shouldn't have come back as early as it did. I must be honest. I understand why it did, but I think that you could potentially send a bad message to people. If you see Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham, yeah, come on, get in there, jumping all over each other, piggybacks and whatever, you want to do the same thing. And maybe that sends a bad message. So I think for me, if you want to get fans back into stadiums, the best way to do it would be do like these little pockets and whatever with your family so you can enjoy it all together. But again, you go on
everyone goes with their family.
Exactly.
Before I met my boys that I go with, I just went by myself.
Exactly. I'm very lucky that I've got my dad and my sister that go to football as well. But that's not always the case. I've gone to games where I've been by myself. My dad's gone to games where he's been by himself. It's going to be so hard to judge. And I think that the main thing I would kind of really want to hit home is you've seen how they've tried to do it with the Brighton game that we've obviously played in before. They had one person in a seat and they just had rows of people. And that was it. Where this time they should have a little bit more kind of realism with it, shall we say. It should be, let's be realistic. People want to celebrate with people. People want to enjoy football. because I felt very much like at that game, if Brighton would have scored a late equaliser or even a late winner, people wouldn't have gone, yeah, get in there. They would have probably gone.
That's another thing as well. Are you even going to be allowed to generate an atmosphere in grounds? Because how controlled is this thing actually going to be?
You'll give it a go. But I mean, you're not. It's not going to be, the full. It's not going to be the full Matthew Arden. It's not going to be the full Shed. It's not going to be the Cop. It's not going to be the Gallagher. It's not going to be anything like that. The clock end, if Arsenal have got any sort of atmosphere, I don't know if they have anymore, or whatever at White Hart Lane with that big wall of noise that they've apparently got. It's not going to be that. It's just going to be a couple of thousand people going, come on, Chelsea. And that's pretty much
maybe
about
a little cheer when the ball goes into net. I don't know. There's plenty of other variables as well. Like we were talking about social distancing as well. You can decide how socially distanced people are inside of the grounds. Outside the grounds, no, you can't. How are you going to stop Chelsea fans celebrating a win over Leeds by, okay, maybe they're not going to a pub, but there's a nice little park 5 minutes away from Stamford Bridge that I could really easily see getting filled out. And maybe you could walk down towards there's the River Thames next to Imperial Wharf Station. You could head down there. You could go around towards Hammersmith. There's plenty of options for people to start drinking. And then you've also got the entries and the exits. I think entrances is going to be easy to try and dictate how people come in and out. Outside, especially with everyone coming out at the same location, like you've got your mate that you haven't seen for months that's just come out at the East Stand like 20 minutes ago. He's going to wait for you afterwards and you're going to go get a drink after that. So overall, everything just ends up being compromised.
Yeah, I think the overall enjoyment and the overall football experience is never going to be the same. It's never going to be. It is going to be the same, but it's going to take a long, long time to do it. And I think a lot of football fans that are like, "Oh my God, yes, we're getting football back. We're going to be allowed into stadiums. This is going to be absolutely awesome," are going to be really let down. Sorry to be the pessimist, but I think they're going to be really let down. I talk to you after games. We do our fan cams and whatever. How many times have I come over to you, jumped all over you after your big win and whatever? If I ain't seen you in months and the bond that we've got is, that we've beaten Tottenham or we've beaten Leeds or whatever, yeah, let's go nuts. That's the whole point. That's what football should be. I'd prefer personally to be able to go and do it in a pub with people I know, people that I care about, people that I enjoy watching football with. I prefer to be able to go and do that with the realization that unfortunately fans aren't going to be allowed into stadiums anytime soon. But that when you are in the pub, you're going to be able to enjoy yourself. You're going to be able to relax. You're able to talk to people who you want to talk to. And it's not going to be well done. It's going to be a little bit more emotion orientated. That's how football should be. It should be a game that is full of emotion. And if you can't share it, show it, I just kind of think, what's the point?
It's not really football, is it?
Yeah, people like football for different reasons, but right at the top game, obviously, that we're kind of talking about, it's not going to be the same at all.
Nah. There's a couple questions on loyalty points and season tickets. I'll be real. I think the way Chelsea were planning on doing it was that vast majority would be going to season ticket holders. And I think there's a small amount that might go to members, but that's also going to be on points. That's going to be very top tip. You don't think it'd be any? I think there might be like a 5-10% maybe.
I don't think it'll even be that. I think it'll be season ticket holders because there's going to be certain people that are and aren't allowed in. How many season ticket holders we got at Chelsea?
25k.
Exactly. How many people we allowed currently into stadiums? If we're in tier 1, which is not going to happen,
4k, which is basically like the VWR is going to be like an away day.
Exactly.
Tickets are going to be done in 10 minutes.
I think they're going to have a raffle. I genuinely do. I think they're going to have a raffle. And if you'd won one previously, then that's tough luck. Do you know what I mean?
Damn, you really have to time it out well. I'll be real. Even when football comes back, I don't see myself going to every single game. I can see myself going to like a couple of them, but again, now I'm thinking of saving money. Now I've kind of got out of the every week going to a match day routine, and I kind of like keeping a bit of money still. So I might have to take it a game at a time until football actually properly comes back.
Yeah.
With that raffle thing, that just makes it easier for me. We can rough off the Rennes v Chelsea game quickly before we wrap this up. Top versus bottom in the Champions League. Rennes have been in awful form going into this match. They lost their last 3 games. No, they hadn't won in 5 games leading up to the reverse fixture against us. we beat them 3-0. And since then, the losing streaks continue. They've lost their next 2 going into this match as well. Rennes are in terrible form, and they need a win to try and salvage any small UCL hopes that they have of qualifying to the next round. Because if they lose this next game and Sevilla beat Krasnodar in the other fixture, Champions League hopes are done, and all they can think of is 3rd place. I know Camavinga's back, but other than that, they've still got a lot of injuries. Rugani's still recovering from a thigh problem. Dalbert's obviously out. We've got Pulisic out. He's still out for the next week or 2, that hamstring problem. And Reece James may or may not play because he did have that knock against Newcastle, so we might see Azpilicueta play. But other than that, everyone else is back. Havertz returns. Thiago Silva returns. What are your thoughts?
Havertz has to play for me. That's a big one. I may even see Mason Mount potentially drop out, but I think because he did the presser today, I think he'll probably play. I don't think it should be a massive change from how we started playing and how we looked against Newcastle. I think a lot of people are forgetting, and I was just saying to you before we came on this, I think a lot of people are assuming that we've already qualified. We haven't. We haven't already qualified. And qualification for me is not my target. Qualification is a standard. We should be winning this group. If we really want to take ourselves seriously and be a Premier League contender, we should be looking to win this group. We shouldn't even be looking at it. We should just be doing it. We should just be doing it. We play against Sevilla. Tough opposition, but probably full strength Chelsea side. I'd back us to win it. Fine. We then have got 2 iffy teams in the group. Fine. A little bit lucky, but this is still not won yet. If we'd have beaten Sevilla and then we could play this game, maybe, just maybe, I could have gone, do you know what, actually? Yeah, I'm quite comfortable. I'm quite happy here. But the fact of the matter is, we still have to then go and get a result against Sevilla. We win tomorrow and the results go away, we're through. Fine. And then we can put all our eggs into one basket. We beat Sevilla and we will top the group. But until that happens, this is a must-win game. That's the bottom line. This is Champions League. You want to be in the biggest and best competitions. And I've seen people say about Kai Havertz, is he going to play? Is he going to not play? I think he'll play again. If he's part of your best 11, he plays. Reece James, is he part of your best 11? Yeah. If he's got a knock, maybe you give him a rest. Fine. Play Azpilicueta. It's not exactly as if it's, chalk and cheese how good they are in terms of quality. Yeah. But the main one I've seen a lot of people saying, I was saying to you beforehand, is Thiago Silva. People are saying, should we rest Thiago Silva? Bro, he didn't fucking play against Newcastle.
He's not.
Why does he need a rest? Why does he need a rest? Play him. You've got
exactly.
You've got 5 days until the Tottenham fixture after the Rennes game. 5 days. Play him.
And Spurs have got a game in between that, so we should really be going into that game as favourites.
If you go 3-0 up, yeah, maybe bring him off. Fine. I can understand that. But you have to go and win this game. You go and win this game, then we are pretty much through. Then that's fine. Then maybe you can start to look at other things. But very simply, we could go to Sevilla, which is the next game in the Champions League, which might even be next week. I don't quote me on that. I think it is, actually.
Sevilla, I think it is.
I think it's next week. We can go there and get a score draw, and we are guaranteed to top the group.
Where is it? Yeah, Sevilla's on the Wednesday.
People are saying about the drop points to Sevilla and whatever, and it is what it is. Blah 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 blah. Oh, that's a different angle. People are saying
it was coming off a bit.
The people are saying about the different problems that could be caused about potentially playing Sevilla and why we only drew 0-0 and why that was a bad result for us. Actually, no, it's a very good result for us. We can go there, get a score draw, and we beat them on head-to-head. Champions League's not done on goals scored or, goal difference or anything like that. It's done on head-to-head record, then goes to goal difference. We're whacking it on goal difference. That's fine. I'm all okay with that. But until we manage to get the one up on Sevilla, this group is not won. It's not won.
Exactly, and I think this game is must win, but that's also for a further reason down the line than that. For me, I'm looking at that Krasnodar fixture, and I'm also looking at the fixtures in between that. December, like we've said numerous times on numerous different lives, is an absolute madness.
Yep.
In between that Krasnodar game, we have Leeds United on the Saturday, and after that, we have 2 away games in the space of 3 days, where we go to Everton away on the 12th and Wolves away on the 15th. I want us qualified and I want us as group winners before that, because for me, that Krasnodar game is the only opportunity we have to make some serious rest. I want the under 18s out for Krasnodar. I want to go into that game and I don't want to care about it. We could drop that game. We could play whoever we want. We could even dash Kepper in goal. I don't care.
Yeah,
but that's the mentality
agree.
that we're going into that Krasnodar match.
Completely agree.
Me off.
Completely agree. Look, we have to go and win this Champions League group. If we don't, it's a problem for us. Again, as Lewis is saying, we do have to go and win this game this week. We go and get any sort of a decent result against Sevilla, and we won the group. But until that happens, then we can deal with the Krasnodar game. Then we can go and rest Thiago Silva. Does he need to play? No. Do we need to play Werner? Probably not. Can we play Giroud? Yeah, fine. People are saying about Giroud playing as well. I like him, but I mean, he's not getting in this team. Rennes are no mugs. They're still a half decent side. It's only we beat them 3-0 because they had a man sent off. Well, if they don't have a man sent off, then are we going to beat them 3-0?
No. 10 men down. I mean, it wasn't a walk in the park for us. We're a bit more stronger going forward, but they still gave us a good match.
They were no mugs at all. They were actually quite a decent side. They're not going to go and win the Champions League, are they? But they're still going to cause you a problem. They're still going to look at it and think, well, we can get into Europa League and maybe we fancy our chances in that. They've still got something to prove. This group is not done and dusted yet. And until it is, we play our full strength 11.
Exactly, man. We'll go through the starting 11, our predicted 11 quickly. I don't think we're going to make too many changes, so I'm just going to ask who would you see come out, because it makes it easier. We're not going to go player by player when we already know the starting 11.
Yeah, I think main one for me that I could potentially see come out, maybe Werner or Abraham, one of them two drop out. I'm not too sure. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I think, might come in, but Hakim Ziyech plays for me. Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Kovacic, Kante. 3 of those 4, whichever ones you want to pick, that should be it. And then maybe Reece James comes out at right back and you put in Azpilicueta. Other than that, it's full strength for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with that for the most part. I only would have made the 1 or 2 changes. With the Spurs game on Sunday, I'm not really too worried about fitness. I think we'll be fine for it.
Yeah.
Score predictions, I'm probably going to go 3-1. 3-1. I don't know. 3-1, yeah.
I'll say 2-0. I'll say 2-0.
2-0. Okay, cool. I'll take that. Regardless, it's a win for a win, so I'm not going to go too much. Before we actually end it, let's talk about Olivier Giroud just for a little bit, because I've heard Chelsea might actually be up for selling him and getting rid of him in January as a token of all the service that he's given us over the last two seasons and a half. And I get it and I respect it, but same way, I'm also thinking with the way the season looks to be, I don't think it's the smartest move for us selling him at this point, because I do think we're going to get injuries throughout the season. And I think this could be the same sort of thing you see towards the end of last season that you see for this season, where we end up relying on Olivier Giroud towards the back end of the season. Yeah, he's not fully match sharp right now, but I see no reason why he couldn't be towards the second half. You give him a slow runs of games. Maybe if you see an injury towards one or the other, I'd see Olivier Giroud come in as well. But if you get rid of someone of Olivier Giroud's quality, you're not going to get the same player back that's also going to be willing to be third place striker behind Timo Werner and Tammy Abraham. Now, at the end of the season, fine. I've got nothing against getting rid of him then, because we're not just going to keep him rotting for the rest of his career. He deserves to go and actually have another club. But I think for this season, with how mad the fixture list looks, with the massive probability of injuries, even if we're trying to be fair to Olivier Giroud, I could still see him get game time. And same way, imagine we could win the Premier League. It's the one trophy he hasn't lifted in England yet.
Yep.
No reason for him not to stay. I mean, we're at the point where we can say, serious contenders, why not? So, in the case of Giroud, I wouldn't see why we should get rid of him at this point anyway. I just wanted to run it by you and get your thoughts.
My main thing... Oh, I can hear myself. Have I got
Nah, there's no echo from me. It might be through here. One sec.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't hear an echo, so you're good.
I can definitely hear me.
Guys, let me know if you can hear an echo with Ian, because I'll be real, I can't hear one.
Hey, wake yourself on mute. Hello. Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah.
All right, try again.
Hello. That's better. I can't hear myself. Yeah. With Giroud, the reason he wants to move, yes, he wants to get some regular. Yes, he wants to get some regular time. He wants to get regular minutes. He wants to play in the Euros. That's the main thing. He wants to play in the Euros, and he wants to become France's top goal scorer, which is what, 7 goals away from something like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wish him all the best in doing it. But it's just as likely that coming up to France, coming up to the Euros, France play a load of crap teams, play a load of crap friendlies, and it still counts as international goals. And maybe he goes and does that before the even Euros started. Do you know what I mean? My main thing with Giroud potentially wanting to move on, I'm a big fan of him. I think that maybe after a while you do have to grant his wish and say, okay, yeah, actually, let's move on. But the main thing as well, I would be willing to sell him if a decent price came, and also we'd be able to completely pick where he goes. If we don't want him going to Tottenham, then we don't let him go to Tottenham. If we don't want him going back to Arsenal, then we don't let him go back to Arsenal. That kind of thing. If he goes to a free agent, he can pick absolutely anywhere he wants to go, which is obviously what happened with Willian. Is Willian going to bite you in the arse maybe as much as Giroud could potentially bite you in the arse? No. But Giroud is a proven goal scorer who doesn't matter where.
How long is his contract, by the way?
What, Giroud?
Yeah. Is it a year and a half?
Summer, that's it.
Wait, so he's gone in the summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's a little bit more different. But the main thing I would say, and I think it really needs to be put out there and pointed, is Lampard has constantly praised Giroud about how professional he is, how much of an impact he is on the team. Absolutely everything is saying Giroud is this really good guy to have around the team. If he's that valuable, keep him. Keep him. Because the main thing the agent's got to do is he's got to express an interest in leaving. Yeah, we want to go and score loads of goals for France. We want to go and be a record breaker. Blah, 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 blah. Giroud's agent, Giroud at what, 34 years of age, is potentially thinking, how many more moves has I got? How many more moves has I got? Because the agent gets a cut of the fee. The agent gets a cut. He's thinking, oh, if I can earn another cut of 2 million out of it, then great, maybe I'm really chill and happy. That's something that maybe needs to be considered. What needs to be considered is obviously where you sell him, how you sell him, why you sell him as well before you do anything. But the main thing is for how much and what are the reasons for selling him. You need to come up with this pros and cons list. And if you can't do it, keep him. That's bottom line. If you can't do it, then keep him. As much as I love Giroud and I want him to, go and enjoy the rest of his career because he deserves it, because he's been a good servant to us and he's a good servant to the Premier League. The really big problem is, he is our player. We are paying him money to go and do a job for us. We have a job to do. If we want to win the title, then let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I don't know. So right now, would you say sell him or would you say keep him?
No, keep him. I keep him. But if someone came in for 20 million quid for him, desperate for goals, maybe you have to look at it and go, 20 million quid for Olivier Giroud is 20 million quid. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we'll get 20 million, but again, you get that kind of neck of the woods. If 3 clubs come into him and go, well, actually, we need someone who scores goals, and Giroud is openly available on the market and there's a little bit of a bidding war, then maybe you have to consider it. But until I see a double-digit number, I am not considering selling Giroud.
Definitely, even on the 6-month thing, I agree with that. But yeah, Ian, bro, thanks for jumping on as usual. Guys, as if you haven't done so already, subscribe to Craigo28 Football. The link is already in the description below. I haven't forgotten this time. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Well, as always, final thoughts up the Chelsea.
Up the Chelsea, damn right. Guys, like and subscribe to Carefree Lewis G if you haven't already. Like and subscribe to Craigo28 Football as well. Don't forget to check out both of our watch-alongs live on Craigo28 Football and on Blues Fans TV, because it actually won't be on my channel. Sad news, but we move. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on fans potentially returning back to grounds, whether you agree or disagree, whether you think it's a good decision or not. Let us know your thoughts on the Rennes versus Chelsea game. I will have a predicted 11 video out for tomorrow as well, even though we've kind of spoiled it here, but we'll keep it quiet because I need 2 videos out. So anyway, I'm going to drop it. So shameless season.